Hey there guys, and thank you so much for clicking on this video and joining me in this episode of Review Flicks. Always appreciate you being here. We're going to be diving back into the Star Wars universe and talking about the potential return of Natalie Portman coming back as Padmé Amidala. I mean, this is a bit of a mixed bag, and either way they go with this decision, I think it could turn fans off, it could turn fans on. So it really depends on how they handle this legacy type character. But let's jump into this information. We'll have a bit of a read about what's going on with the story and Natalie Portman potentially returning. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to give a breakdown of my positive reaction to this news, but also some of the negatives that could come from this news as well. So we'll get into that list of positives and negatives for and against, Natalie Portman returning as Padmé Amidala. So first of all, let's break down this news here. So we're going to get into this article. It comes to us from Comic Book Movie. So Star Wars Natalie Portman rumored to be in talks to return as Padmé Amidala for Ahsoka Season 2. So just removing Star Wars for a second, Natalie Portman, she's an absolute treasure in my opinion. She's a fantastic actress. I thoroughly love her work. She always elevates material that she's in. And would I welcome her back to the Star Wars universe? I would, but like I say, they need to handle the character right, make sure they do something meaningful, impactful, make sure they have a good sort of character arc, or make sure there's a good reason as to why she would potentially be in Ahsoka on Disney+. Is there a good reason? Would it feel shoehorned? We need to respect the character, and hopefully Disney can do that. Although, some people say that Disney have kind of lost their way with Star Wars, but we'd have to wait and see. So let's get into this news here. So Natalie Portman's Queen Padmé Amidala played a vital role in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Regardless of what you think of the Star Wars prequel trilogies, I mean, that could be a whole nother video of itself. I enjoyed some of the stuff there. There was some enjoyment to be found, obviously, within it. But overall, the majority of Star Wars fans don't really like the prequel trilogy all that much. But didn't live to witness the events of A New Hope and beyond after passing away while giving birth to twins Luke and Leia at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, so we all know, obviously she passed away, so she's not technically alive. So if they bring her back, it would have to be in a flashback scene, or, use some sort of weird canon-defying kind of narrative purpose as to why she's there. It's very, very strange as to how they would handle that if it wouldn't be a flashback. So Amidala's death is what ultimately pushed Anakin Skywalker to fully abandon the path of the Jedi and allow himself to be consumed by the dark side of the Force. So yeah, her death is like one of the most important parts of canon in those prequel movies. Obviously, that's what spurred Anakin to become basically Darth Vader, to go crazy, to kill everyone, and kind of spurred on those events. So the Disney Plus Star Wars shows have allowed us to revisit earlier timelines in a galaxy far, far away. And though we've seen both Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen reprise their respective roles as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin or Darth Vader, Padmé has yet to make an appearance. She has showed up in the Clone Wars animated series and several Star Wars novels, but we haven't seen her in live action since Return of the Sith. So, honestly, the character wasn't really required for the story in Obi-Wan Kenobi series that it was telling, and it's difficult to imagine any new spin-off or prequel focusing on Padmé. Even so, Portman has often said that she would be open to reprising the role, and we're now hearing that she's actually in talks to return. So at the moment, we have to say, none of this is coming from Disney, it's not coming from Lucasfilm, there's nothing that's been 100% confirmed here. This is rumours, speculation, the nerd grapevine, if you like. So until it's confirmed by a reputable source like the studio or, Natalie Portman herself, we have to take this information with a grain of salt at the moment. So, after previously reporting that McGregor, Christensen, and Ariana Greenblatt, who played the young Ahsoka Tano in Season 1, are set to return for the second season and Ahsoka, Christian Harloff, he's a movie pundit, kind of like myself on YouTube, but obviously he's a bit more popular than me. Check him out if you haven't seen him before. Believes that Portman is also close to reaching a deal to reprise her role as the former ruler of Naboo. How Amidala would factor into the story obviously remains to be seen, but there's speculation that she could appear via the World Between Worlds, the realm where Ahsoka encountered her old Jedi Master Skywalker in the first season. Yeah, I mean, that's something they could do, but then again, is it going back to the world too many times? Is it just kind of playing into a story that we already saw in Ahsoka Season 1? They're just going to repeat that, but instead of having Anakin there, Padmé is going to be there. Is it going to work a second time? Is it going to feel a bit kind of gimmicky at that point? Like I say, if it feels shoehorned in, then it could be a very divisive kind of thing to have Padmé back when there's no sort of reason for her to be there. She could also feature in a more conventional flashback, of course. So production on Ahsoka Season 2 is scheduled to get underway later this year. The main cast members are all expected to return, with Game of Thrones alum Roy McCann inheriting the role of Baylan Skoll from the late Ray Stevenson. Baylan Skoll was one of the best characters that's come up in the Disney Plus Star Wars series. That character was fantastic, and Ray Stevenson, did such a great job playing that character. And let's hope that Rory McCann can pick up the baton and do a great job with that character that Ray Stevenson brought to the screen. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go through some positives for this news, like why I'd be for it, but then we're going to go into some negatives as well, and why this could be a bad idea to have Natalie Portman coming back as Padmé. So let's start off with the positive points. Nostalgia for the prequel fans. Natalie Portman's portrayal of Padmé Amidala is iconic for many who grew up with the prequel trilogy. Her return could bring a wave of nostalgia and re-engage longtime fans who watched those movies growing up, as I say, and who really enjoyed her character. So that's a positive point there. Expanding on Padmé's story, that could be a great thing as well, you know, talking more about the character, seeing her more in depth, explaining some of her backstory, and kind of just looking at the character a little bit more in depth. So Padmé's character has a significant untapped potential, particularly in exploring her political role, relationships and struggles. A return could delve deeper into her story, enriching the Star Wars lore. Moving on to point number 3, that's positive, a strong female representation. I know we've already had that with Daisy Ridley, but this is another one that could be also great as well. Many feel that the prequel trilogy underutilized Portman's talent. A new appearance could give her a chance to shine with better writing and direction. So potentially, if they do, bring her back, they could write her character better, give her a better narrative thrust, and really work on her character and make her better and more popular than she ever was in the prequel series. That would be a good point as well. So let's move on to the negative points here. So, the challenges to the canon. This is going to be probably the biggest negative point on the list. So, Padmé's death in Revenge of the Sith creates narrative constraints. Bringing her back would require convoluted explanations that risk straining believability. So, yeah, I mean, this could be one of the big things. You know what Star Wars fans are like when it comes to the canon and how protective they are over the Star Wars universe. And bringing her back, if there's no good reason, and if it potentially ends up risking kind of the canon of the Star Wars franchise. Even though people didn't really like the prequel series, the prequel trilogy all that much, they're still protective over the canon of what those 3 movies represent. So if you risk messing up that canon, and yeah, fans are very protective, so that could be a really big negative point, risking the canon there. So, the risk of fan division as well. This has been a big thing in Star Wars over recent years, just division amongst the characters. You know, the Daisy Ridley character, Rey, massive division. And I can't believe they're still planning on bringing her back. It's insane. But yeah, bringing back Padmé, it could be a risky decision that could divide the fan base even further. A lot of people are going to be for it. A lot of people are going to be against it. If it's not handled with care, Padmé's return could feel like fan service rather than a meaningful addition to the story. So if there's no narrative reason, if it's just shoehorned in, then it could come off as gimmicky and just, kind of untasteful to the character. And then oversaturation of legacy characters. So Star Wars has often relied on legacy characters to drive interest to the Star Wars franchise. While exciting, Padmé's return might overshadow efforts to develop the actual characters within the series. So Padmé's return could end up overshadowing Ahsoka herself if she appears in Ahsoka Season 2. So that could be a risk as well. It might not necessarily happen if she's only got a small kind of cameo role, kind of like what Hayden Christensen had in Ahsoka Season 1. But they could risk potentially overshadowing Ahsoka with Anakin Skywalker and Padmé if they're both there. So, the Ahsoka character could get lost in her own show potentially. But that's some of the negatives and positives that I have there, guys. If you have any to add to the positive or the negative list, do let me know down in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So that's kind of where we are. So in the rumor mill, it looks like Natalie Portman is in talks to reprise her role as Padmé. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Whatever you think, guys, jump into the comment section and let me know what you think about this news. As always, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you hit that like and become a subscriber of the channel if you haven't already. It goes a long way to supporting the content, so I really appreciate that. And as always, I will see you in the next video.